again, and I'm here with a process video for you. I know it's been a little while. I apologize about that, but I'm going to make a little update video, a little face-to-face chat to talk more about some things that are going on with me. But today I wanted to bring you a layout that shows you Tracie Claiborne and I recently released the second installment of our popular class Ready Sketch Go, and it's available for sale now in my shop, and I will leave a link below, but it's craftygenschow.com, and then you can just click on classes. And I wanted to show you today kind of a little taste of what you're getting if you purchase the class. So in the class we have 15 sketches. Tracie and I each do a layout for every sketch, and there's a video for each sketch as well from each of us, so there's 30 videos. And I wanted to give you a little taste of kind of what those videos are like and what the sketches in the class are like, so that you can kind of decide for yourself if it's something that might interest you. We've had an amazing community of people in our Facebook group. Both Facebook groups, we have one for each class, are super active, and people are constantly posting their takes on the sketches, and it's really inspiring. And so part of one of the best parts of the class, I think, is just the community of people all working on these sketches and how they interpret them a little bit differently. So for today's sketch, we're going to be using this one, and I will have this available on my blog, and I think Tracie will as well, so that you can go and take a look at this sketch. And this sketch has 3 photos, one 4x6 in the center and 2 3x4s on the outside. It is based on a layout that I had done previously, and I will try to insert a photo here. It was one that was in my Out of the Pocket series on my YouTube channel, which I will also leave a link to below. And what we have is kind of a T-shaped design. So we have the title and possibly a subtitle here at the top that you can do here, and then journaling at the bottom. So this is going to create a line down the middle with the photo and then a layer behind the photo. And then we have this going across the center, or you can move it down a little from the center. In the sketch it's moved down a little from the center, but you can move things around a little bit based on what you want to do for your layout. And then there's a strip going across the middle, or you could use 2 separate papers here, or whatever you wanted, with 2 3x4 photos on top, and then a little bit of embellishment here. And there is a border on the outside of the page, so if you want to add that, you totally can do that. I like the look of that. And I just wanted to give you maybe some different ideas on how you could switch this up. If you had only 2 photos, you could move this whole piece right here over to the side, so that you just eliminate this photo and then move this over, and you've got still a T shape, but it's almost an L, but you could just move this whole centerpiece over to the left a little bit, and that would help balance it a bit. That would work really well if you had a vertical and a horizontal photo as well. If you don't print photos that are different sizes, so you could do a 3x4, instead of doing 2 3x4s, you could do a 4x6 vertical and a 4x6 horizontal, and just move this whole center column to the left a bit. I think that would work really well. If you had horizontal photos, I think you could definitely rotate this sketch. I might move where my title and my journaling are, and maybe have the title could rest somewhere in here, or you could put it down here. Wherever it works for your layout. It might even work across the middle of the photos. I think you could still do a title on the side, but if you were going to do it on its side, I would probably put it on the left side, and then maybe you could add some journaling over here. So when you rotate the sketches, you can definitely do that. Sometimes you just need to do a little bit of finagling with your title and your journaling. But the thing I love about sketches is they're just a jumping off point, right? So you start with the bones, and you could follow this exactly, and it would be great. And then you can use it again, and next time just use a few different items. I think this would work really well if you had 3 photos that were all the same size. That would be okay too. You could just enlarge your title or add more journaling in there to kind of fill in that space. I think you could do 3 4x6 photos as well if you wanted to just enlarge this piece a little bit. So I think square photos would be really cute on the sides too. So there's a lot that you can do with this one. And for my layout today, I'm going to be using these 3 photos of my nephew, and we made little snow cones at home, and so I just wanted to do these 3 photos of him. and I'm going to be using my new Felicity Jane Felicity kit. And I wanted to show you too that with the Felicity Jane kits are pretty girly, but I'm going to show you how I pulled out the different things in the kit that are not super girly. So if you look at the papers on this side, you can see, well, this one's just a grid, but you can see all the pinks here. But I'm going to be using these sides, which are just blues and blacks, and I think that this will work really well. I'm also going to pull in some yellow, and I might possibly pull in, when I use just a couple of colors, I like to add in a pop of another color. So I might add in a pop of this pinky red color. I think it's red enough that it would work okay. And my nephew's wearing kind of like an orangey shirt, and I think it would pull that color nicely. So we're just going to see how it goes. I've pulled from the embellishments as well. I pulled mostly the blues and the yellows and the black, but I also pulled a couple things that have that pink color in it because I'm okay with adding a pop of the color. And then I also did pull the pom-pom trim because he's eating plain ice, like snow. And so I thought this kind of reminded me of that. So I'm going to pull that in as well. And then I've got the stamp set too. So I'm going to be working with those things, and I'm going to put you on fast forward and we will get started, and I'll go through the process and talk with you about the sketch again at the end. So I'm going to start by trying to decide which papers I want to use where on this layout. And so I'm thinking I want to use that blue, it's just a plain blue kind of cardstock look for the border around my layout. And so I'm cutting down a piece of white cardstock, just a 1/2 inch on each side so that I can see what paper might look good as a border. So I'm trying out the patterned papers first, but I'm pretty much deciding that I'm going to use just the plain cardstock. And I decide to go, that cardstock is two-sided, and so one side is a lighter blue, or kind of a minty color really, and one is a darker color. And I'm going to end up going with the darker color. I'm cutting out the center because I'm thinking I might want to use some of this paper on the layout. And that's just something I often do if I only have one sheet of the paper and I really want to maybe use it on the layout. So I'm going to arrange my photos now. In the sketch, you can see that the 3x4 photos are layered on top of the 4x6, and that works in a lot of cases. In this particular case, it worked better for me to layer them underneath, and that's fine either way. So now I'm going to play around with these patterns, and I'm trying to get two patterns that will look really well together. And the trick to that is to get two patterns that aren't too similar and that are different in scale. And so I'm cutting this striped pattern, and that's going to be my centerpiece. I just love the way a striped paper works to border a photo, and this one I cut to 6x8, so there's kind of a 1-inch border around all of the sides there. And now I'm trying to decide, I want blue behind the photos, but it's not popping enough, so I'm thinking I might put a little bit of yellow as well. I'm going to cut my papers up to try to play around with the size and see exactly how large I want it. So I'm making the little pieces that go around the smaller photos 6 inches tall. Is that right? I think 6 inches tall, so that there's an inch on either side of those as well. And so I'm going to try out that light blue paper, which came from the middle of the paper that's bordering my layout. And then I'm trying this heart paper, and I love that heart paper. It's so super cute. It has little black polka dots on some of the hearts, and so it brings in that black striped paper really well. But you can see it does not pop against that light blue paper. It's blue on blue. And there's just not enough contrast there for me. So I'm going to try the yellow. I wasn't sure that I'd like the yellow, but I think it really helps the photos to stand out, and it really draws your attention. And I really love the way that looks. So I'm going to leave that there for a minute while I work on my title. I'm going to use these kind of icy minty colored chipboard letter stickers that came in the Felicity kit, which is perfect because my title is Ice Ice Baby. And my nephew loves that song, Ice Ice Baby, and he loves ice. And so whenever he asks for ice, he says, Ice Ice Baby, please. And it's super cute. So I knew that was going to be my title. I have it on wax paper because I'm not exactly sure where I want it, and so that allows me to move it around. So I'm playing with some of the embellishments that I got out to just see if I want to tuck things in or where words might go, and kind of playing around with color as well, seeing if I want to stick to mostly black or if I like the pop of the pinky red. And I found these two acetate pieces. One's a heart and one's a little striped speech bubble, and I really, really like that. And I like the way they look layered together because you can see the stripes through the heart a little bit. So I'm thinking about that. And then I also want to use these two little flare badges. One says high five and one's a little star. And so I don't generally mix hearts and stars, but I'm definitely going to do it on this layout, and I think it ends up looking great. So now that I kind of have a good idea of what I want to do, I am just going to get my paper stuck down, and I'm not putting a ton of adhesive just so that I can layer these up, and I know that I'm going to be sliding papers underneath, and I'm just trying to make sure that centerpiece is straight, and then I can use the edges of the paper to kind of line up those yellow patterns. You could definitely use one piece in the background so that it lines up a lot more easily, but to conserve paper, if you want, you can definitely just cut it up. This works great for scraps. In the original layout that I did, I used Project Life cards and just cut them up, so you could get really creative with this one. So now I'm going to layer up those heart patterns, and I'm just kind of centering them on the yellow. And I decided that I wanted the look of the rounded edges on it. So I got my corner rounder punch, and I'm just going to round the edges of all of these papers. And I've already stuck some of them down, so I'm just kind of peeling them up and then punching them. And for me, this is not a big deal because I'm going to kind of rough up the edges of this anyway, and I like the texture and dimension. But it would have been nice if I would have thought of this in the first place rather than as an afterthought. But it ends up working out for me. So now I'm going to pop up that center photo, and because it needs a lot of, I like the stability, I'm using some foam adhesive, and it's adhesive on one side, and it's just plain on the other side, so you can add your adhesive, and it's super cheap, and I love using that fun foam for popping up large things like this. And so I'm going to place down my photos on the sides before I place the one that's popped up, and I'm just using the edges of the paper as a guide so that I get them both the same. And then I placed my photo, and I used again the lines on the paper as a guide to get a nice placement for my photo. And now I'm going to think about the title and if I want it on the stripes or if I want it above. Now in the video, and I think even in the photos, it's kind of hard to tell, but this title actually ends up looking really great. And I think that in the photos and in the video, it looks a little bit like it gets lost when I put it on this background, but in real life it looks great, and I really like it. You can kind of tell when I tilted it up there. It's very visible, very easy to read. So what I'm going to do with this little speech bubble that I mentioned earlier, they're both acetate pieces that I want to layer together. So I'm just going to hold them together, and I used my tiny attacher to staple them. And I'm going to use a little pop dot it's like a glue dot, but it's dimensional, and it's from Zotz, it's from ThermoWeb, and it's just a dimensional dot, and I hide it behind the little heart there, and so you can't see it, and I like the dimension that gives. And I'm going to put that little real life word sticker right above the word Ice Ice Baby. I haven't decided completely on that yet, but I will end up putting it there, and you can see that I'm layering it just barely underneath the little speech bubble, and that helps tie everything together. So now I'm trying to decide if I want to put a word sticker with each one of the flare badges, and I don't like putting too many words next to words, and so the memories and the high five next to each other is kind of bothering me. So I will end up changing my mind. And you just saw me cut some of this little pom-pom trim, and I'm just going to use some thin double-sided tape to I put it on the top of the trim, and I'm going to kind of shove it up underneath that 4x6 photo in the center. And so I just cut it the length of the photo, and you can see here I'm just kind of placing that down, and it's a little bit of a struggle, but once I get it on, I really like the way that it looks. So now I'm going to work on maybe some stamping. This little grin on my nephew's face in that center photo is so cute and hilarious. That's not his normal smile. It's kind of like a goofy little grin. And so I wanted to put the stamp that says a reason to smile, because definitely ice is a reason to smile for him and for me. I love plain ice snow cones. And so I placed that stamp there, and I just used some Ali Edwards Black Butte ink for that. And now I'm placing the little badges, and I'm using some foam adhesive just on one side of it because since I popped up that center photo, it needed a little bit of extra dimension on the side of the flare because I overlapped it in the corners of the photos. And that's another great way to make sure everything ties together, is to just find the corners and places where things can slightly overlap. I placed down that real life sticker up at the top, as you can see, and now I'm thinking if I want to use any other stamps. And I decided to bring in that color, that pinky red color. I would stamp at the bottom on this, there's a white strip, and I stamped Eat, Sleep, Be Awesome, Repeat. And that's going to be just enough of that reddish color for me. And that was Fresh Peach from Hero Arts, I believe. I will link to the products that I used in the video description. But now I've gone ahead and typed up some journaling, and I'm just cutting it into strips. It's just 3 short sentences, and I'm keeping in mind that I want this to be a T or a cross kind of design, and so I want the middle part to extend almost to the top and bottom, and you can see the sides are already extended almost to the sides. So I need to pull some things down to the bottom, and so I've got my journaling there, and it's just 3 strips. It says, "This boy loves ice. When he wants some, he says, 'Ice, ice, baby.' Today, Aunt Jen introduced him to plain shaved ice, and his goofy little grin says it all." So just simple journaling, but it definitely tells the story, and it's super cute. And I just glued those down with some Scotch Quick Dry adhesive. And I'm thinking I want something else below the journaling to just extend that a little bit more. And so I thought about those little hearts, and then I thought maybe I should stamp again. And so that's what I'm going to do. There's this cute little arrow in a box with an arrow at the top, and so I stamped that at the bottom, and I'm going to stamp the word amazing in the center of it. And I'm using some Close to My Heart Glacier ink to stamp that, and it matches kind of that icy blue color, and I think that looks great. And now I'm thinking that the top needs some stamping, so I just stamped this story, and I just stamped it once, and without re-inking it, stamped it over and over. And to bring that kind of same look in somewhere else, I'm going to stamp the date above A Reason to Smile, and I'm going to do the same thing. I just inked it up once and then stamped it a couple more times. And now I'm thinking there's a stamp that has a bunch of stars on it, kind of looks like confetti. So I thought about stamping that, but I couldn't find a good spot where it would look nice without having to overlap several layers. I remembered there was some actual confetti in the kit, and so I sprinkled these little black stars, and I'm just going to kind of place them where they landed. And I just did it in a diagonal fashion next to where the flare badges are, and I really, really love the way that ends up looking. And I'm just using some Scotch Quick Dry adhesive to glue those all down, and I'm really trying not to be too contrived with where I'm placing these. I want it to have a really natural, I just fell here kind of look. So you can see that I am kind of moving things around, but I'm just trying to get a good mix of the larger and the smaller sequins. And then in order to make it look a little bit more natural, if you make some clumps and then sprinkle a few off on their own, it just helps it give a more natural feel. So after I'm done gluing these down, that is going to finish this layout off. I wanted to remind you before I come back and talk to you in real time again to be sure to check out Tracie's video, and I will leave a link in the video description on this video below. So here's a look at the final layout and the original sketch. I stuck really closely to it. I just changed a few things up. My photos lended themselves better to being layered underneath than over the top, but it works either way. And in the original layout that this is based on, I did place them over top so you can see both ways. And I kept it just really simple, added in an extra layer. Remember that sketches are a starting point. So You take this as the bones of your layout, and then you add whatever makes it feel you. And so adding in this extra layer here helped it feel more me. And I liked the idea of bringing a little bit of this softer blue color in to break it up from the yellow, because the yellow is super, super bright. So then it just leaves a little pop of the yellow showing. I did keep the two embellishments kind of in these corners, and just sprinkled some of these little star sequins about, and I really like the way that looks. And my title didn't quite take up the same amount of room here, but to keep the cross shape going, I just extended it up and down actually. So I just put a sticker and some stamping and an embellishment to just kind of continue this going all the way to the top. And then my journaling was just a few short lines, and so I extended it by doing another little stamp down here. So that's a really great way to just get a little bit of extension, is just put some embellishment or some stamping if you want to make that go all the way up to the top. I think, again, you could do this with just two photos by shifting this whole column just to the right a little bit. And then you could place more of the bulk of your embellishment on this side of the page. I hope that you've gotten some awesome ideas. Be sure to head over to my blog at CraftyJenSchow.com to grab the sketch for yourself. I'd love to see what you make, so be sure to post that and tag me so that I can see it. And if you want to, I hope this sketch has also interested you in Ready Sketch Go. We have two volumes, volume 1 and 2. You can buy them. You can buy Ready Sketch Go Volume 2 now for the discounted price of $30 until the 15th. At that time, the price goes up to $35. So be sure to snag it while you can. And if you don't have the first volume, you can get both of them for a low price of $50. So be sure to head over to my blog, and if you're interested in the class, just click on classes and you can purchase it there. And I'd love to hear from you. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.